Okay, so let's get started with the amp. And the key to the amp really is that I want to be able to play. I want to be able to play and have everything from a small articulate thing to something bigger at any given moment. You know, I want to be. So I heard it was described once in a Guitar Player magazine where they talked about it was jam band was the subject of the whole issue, old school stuff. Anyway, one of the things the guy said, and this was probably one of the biggest lessons I ever learned, and I'm gonna give it to you guys now. What he said is you want to set up your guitar so that when you play soft, it sounds soft. But when you play hard, it gets big and really becomes explosive. And what that really means is you want to have that dynamic range that I think is kind of missing a little bit when you get too much saturation and things. But the guys that play with a lot of saturation, they do a whole world of things that I'll never be able to do. So there's, it's everything in music is a give and take. You can't be totally compressed and totally dynamic at the same time. You gotta pick your battles where you want to go. So right off the bat, my Fender Twin is only a preamp. There's no power tubes in this. All it does is it's got basically I run it on 3 tubes. It's got the first tube. That's the first amplification stage, and I've got a low wattage or low gain tube in that spot. Old school hi-fi stuff, American made RCA. Try to get the RCA stuff, or the Baldwin stuff's real good too. And the tone section, and there's no power section. The reverb tank is behind this cabinet. It's actually in the cabinet, hanging down from a couple screws vertically, because the more vertical it is, the less susceptible it is to vibration that's on a stage often, where the stage goes up and down. With that tone, there's a lot of things I can do. I can just vamp on anything. So you've got a kind of a workable tone there just right off the bat, and so I like to really, that's why I spent a lot of time working on my amp, and I'm going to do a whole episode on the amp itself. So that's about as much as you need to know for now. So then I've got the delay that I've got, and that's where it really gets fun for me. I've got an ADA 2FX delay like Jerry used, same one that Jerry used, and I gotta tell you, it just works. It just works great. I also have a couple of these ADA 1 second digital delay, which uses a lot of the same circuitry, and it just has less features. But in my experience, because I didn't have a 2FX for a long time, I just had the ADA 1 second delay, and I used it for many years. And when I finally got the 2FX, the one that Jerry had, it didn't really sound any better. It sounds really good though. But I don't think it really sounds better for the delay, at least for the way I use it. But the better one is a lot better though. It's got more features. It's got goes with a pedal board, I'm sure, that Jerry had. So anyway, so the way the delay works is I've got a pedal that is in place of the mix knob. So I can bring in the delay as slow as I want. So you get the idea. So that makes everything fun, and so I just leave it on all the time now. I used to switch in and out with a GCX switcher. I don't even bother now. I just let it ride because I use it on a lot of songs, and it's always kind of underneath there, just kind of filling it up a little bit. Because if you play in a 4-piece band and you don't have another guitar player, that's a lot of sound you got to put out. And if you're playing mellow style jammy band music, it's hard to, doing the cool thing. It's like, it's great, and if you got two guys doing it, it's a lot easier, because one guy can be like, I'm hanging out, the other guy can be like, okay, I'm here, I'm not, So I'm used to having to play on the front of things a lot, so that's why I want my tone to be pretty much ready to go. We'll do the Dead, we'll do Pink Floyd, we'll do Little Feat, we'll do The Doors, we'll do classic rock stuff, and so Crosby, Stills, Nash. Like we might want to do some Crosby, Stills, Nash stuff. So I've got to have sounds that are ready to go for that. Okay, so signal then goes into my signal goes from the guitar to equalizer pedal, and I like the equalizer pedal. It's the Boss G7 equalizer. I kind of like it because it allows me to kind of just tune the guitar to the room real easily, because I know that it's right in front of me. So basically, if I'm in the first song or second song or something, I'll walk out in front and kind of listen to how does the guitar tone, is my E string coming through? Okay, E string's not really coming through, so I just go over here to the pedal and just hit it like that, and I know I'm gonna be pretty much for the rest of the night, as long as I kind of keep that as my center, so to speak. Then I know. See, so now I got more. Yeah, so that's why I like the pedal. Just makes all that real simple. If you're, and also it kind of negates whether or not your strings are new or not, because you can always adjust the highs to kind of make it sound like they're brand new strings, even if they're dead. Because during the COVID and all that, it's like I wasn't like gung ho to go spend money on strings, So okay, so after it leaves the EQ pedal, it goes into my Qtron, which it's really in my mind, from what I've tried, back in the old days, it really was the best. Nowadays, there might be better stuff out there, but with eBay, there's all kinds of great gear that just didn't exist back when I first started doing this. But my Qtron, I've got it modified in a couple ways. One way is it's got an effects loop kind of in it, so that you can plug a tip ring sleeve into it, and it will loop. Then you can put all the other pedals in the loop and loop it through your guitar. It's also got a volume knob that is post effect, and that's so if I'm playing, like with this guitar, there's no effects loop on this guitar. So if I'm gonna use the envelope filter, I just hit the button, and then I'll decide, kind of depending on the song, how much volume I really need, and then if there's a solo, I can just go down with my foot, and I've got one of those little rubber things for the pot, so I can twist my foot, and it's just real easy to do. So I do that a lot. Running the effects loop and stuff is, you know, it's just that much more junk to deal with, you know. I'd rather bring a second microphone for my guitar cabinet because that I really, really love. So, okay, so yeah, so let's hit this. Those two pedals, and of course the Qtron is a true bypass. The other thing I just remembered, I did do a modification on the Qtron where you put in a different resistor and it gives you a medium attack on the wah. And yeah, so I did that, and I remember it sounding great first, you know, as soon as I did it, and I haven't really thought about the whole thing since. It's kind of nice when something just finally is off your list of things to work on, improve, or you know, mess with in whatever time you got, you know. So come out of that into Super Distortion, SD1. Okay, so that's SD1 Super Distortion. Jerry played one. It's also good for Gilmore stuff. Okay, so that's you know, kind of a good all-around distortion, and a lot of times I'll use my toe, my foot I'll adjust the gain for the song. That's the simplest thing with that pedal, because it's got so many uses and so many songs that it's really hard to just kind of pick one and just let it be. It works so much better for me to just say, okay, I know when I hit that pedal, I want to set it up either before the song, or first thing I'm going to do is think about where that gain is going to be, and go from there. So after that, it goes to an OS2 overdrive distortion. That's another Boss pedal, and it's basically super saturated. So you're like. That's how every show should end just like that. Okay, so my signal comes out of the main pedal board and goes into this Boss ME70. So in the things I've got on this is compression, I've got boost, I've got chorus, and then I've got either loops that I could use for like fish stuff. Sometimes I'll get a jam going, and I used to do this funny thing where I'd get this spaced out jam going, and I'd record lead guitar over my loop, and the band would just keep on playing, and I could take my guitar and just set it down, and I'd go to the bar and get a beer, and the loop was like 45 seconds or 48 seconds or something like that. So I had just enough time to get to the bar and get back to the guitar before the loop. Well, basically all it would do is just repeat itself. But the band, it was always funny to see the guy looks on the band's face, just wondering like, what is he doing? Like, he's not even, his guitar is here, and they're still hearing it because it's all just a big spaced out jam. You know what I mean? They're expecting me to play completely mindless and without any regard for repetition or whatever. So yeah, so that's what that's for. And so, but it's also a delay. So here's a delay that I just already had programmed in it for that Run Like Hell thing. So that's a tap delay, and so I can tap, like if I'm doing a song like an 80s song or something where there's a tap delay, I can tap in different delays, you know, which that, you know. So yeah, so this whole kind of Boss thing is kind of what I kind of call my everything in it but the Grateful Dead box. You know, the other stuff takes care of all the Dead. This takes care of like everything else. So okay, so that's the extra delay. Next thing is a compressor that I, in my mind, kind of helps it sound like a Strat a little bit. It kind of gives it a little more of a Strat type envelope, so you can be like, do something like this. So you start with the compression. That gives you a little more of a Strat type kind of sound with some compression. That also works good for the David Gilmour stuff, you know. Let's give it that Strat rhythm pickup sound. So that one, that's what that kind of does. From there, we do the chorus pedal, part of the pedal, and so I use this a lot, obviously, for the Pink Floyd stuff. Okay, so that's the chorus. It's also good for like Crosby, Stills, Nash. So I can also use the chorus and the compression together for kind of a little bit like a Little Feat, you know. So like. Yeah, a little fat man in the bathtub. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. It's really all about taking a good clean tone, and then just having all these different kind of flavors. And so I've got like a boost in here too. So this is what I do if I want it to sound like it's like sometimes like a fish sound, or also if I take off the chorus. So that's pretty much it, other than the speaker cabinet. So which I built this one recently, actually during the hurricane break, so to speak. And but for years I used a 212 cabinet, but then also I made a 112 wedge, and it. I used that for many years, probably a good, almost probably 10 years I used that specific cabinet because it just went anywhere, you know, it fits in small stages and small places, and I tried, you know, to tell myself it sounded just as good, but it just doesn't, I don't think. Yeah, so these are, this is the 312 cabinet, and it's loaded with 212s right now, and that's really the best way. In all my years of doing this, I like that the best because you got two drivers, which gets you down to 4 ohms. The power amp I'm using is a Crest Audio power amp, and it's 300 watts per side, but when you get it down to 4 ohms, you're talking like you know, like 600 watts, 500 something watts, and so what that means is you've got lots of headroom. I mean, this thing can get really loud. This can rattle windows and stuff if you really get it cranking. I've got it turned down a lot because I want it to be somewhat even with my voice, just to make this video easier to put together. So, and as you can see, I've got 2 different microphones on these speakers because this is a JBL K120, and this is a PV Scorpion, no, Black Widow, PV Black Widow speaker down here that my friend Mark Highway from Nashville gave me when he left to go to Nashville. Haven't seen him since, so anybody knows Mark, tell him to give me a call. And this is a PV Black Widow that I had to re-cone because the cone had actually separated, but those speakers come apart, so I was able to re-glue it, and it sounds great. And it doesn't sound quite the same as the JBL. I wouldn't want to use it by itself maybe because it has a little bit of a different sound, but when I combine it with this one, I think it sounds really cool because I know I can get what I want from this one, and the other one I can always dial the highs back a little bit and just kind of use it for thump. You know, so that's one of the other advantages. The other thing I was going to say is on the back of my Boss there's 2 outputs. So one output goes to the amp, one output goes to the soundboard, which is over here, which is a very nice PreSonus. This thing has just made my life so much easier. I got QSC power on the PA. Lexicon effects are a separate rack unit because the effects in the PreSonus, I don't love them that much. I kind of like having separate control too. Just it seems to work better, and this Lexicon's easy to use. That's why I like it. I had an MPX1 for a while, but I ended up going back to this one. Actually, this is the second one I've had. So I've also got an E120 down there that needs reconing. Let's just say cats will make a bed out of your speaker. A cat ruined my JBL. So that I got that, and this is my new sub kicker that I can't wait to try out at at the bar.
So that's that.
I use MyLab. Got a MyLab microphone here that I just love. It's this isn't the one that the Dead used. This is the one that came out before the one the Dead ended up using in the 80s. But this thing sounds so great. Like if you can find a MyLab microphone and find a way to afford it, you'll just love it. Just get that. And also, okay, so I got Sennheiser 421 here, and with these mounts, I'm able to mount the microphone directly to the cabinet. And so I've got these covers that cover up the microphone up. They're actually a beer koozie. Here's what they are. It's just a beer koozie. And you put a hole in it. This is from the Surf Club, which is ironically one of the only places left on Fort Myers Beach. Didn't get destroyed. Used to be the Waffle House. But anyway, and there's more acoustic foam. So what you do is you put the microphone in the middle of it, and then you put some more foam in around it. And so what that does is it shields the microphone from the PA and the sound. And if you're in a smaller bar, I think it really helps me if I keep my amp down low and get more sound through the PA, because it still gets around the room nice, and I don't have to. People in the band are less likely to start turning up, and then we have big, then you get into volume wars. So all this equipment is all designed to from the PA to the PA system to the guitar. Everything's designed around getting enough sound going, having good control over it, and keeping it at a level that gets along with people.